G'day folks, welcome to another snapshot. This time I'm focusing on the situation up here near Cabourg in the very far northeast area. This is about as far east and north that these maps go as part of the Greatest Day, the Grand Tactical Series. Now it's about midday on the 9th of June and this is Intermediate Scenario 3, the Saga of the 6th Airborne, and I'm using this situation to kind of highlight something that I'm slowly realizing. Now, I'm working my way through the scenarios and learning as I go, but I'm also kind of making sense of all these rules. In particular, this scenario is almost like a siege scenario where the 6th Airborne really dig in and entrench and establish their improved positions and pick their key defensive terrain. And then the 21st Panzer Division comes on around Horsa Bridge, and the 346 711 Division comes on around here or further to the south if the bridges aren't blown. But here, they, as these units came on, they were faced with these 6th Airborne landing troops who had picked key defensive terrain. They hadn't yet had the chance to dig in yet, but just holding that key terrain in this sort of bottleneck, only 3 hexes wide, has basically forced all these 346 711 units to kind of pile up and try to force their way through. And it's highlighting the huge advantage that defenders have in this series when they can pick the ground over which to fight by entrenching, by building improved positions, by picking key defensive terrain, by funneling the attackers into key areas like this, or even around Horsa Bridge, where they force the 21st Panzer Division to kind of manoeuvre around their guns. The AT guns, to say the line of fire of these AT guns. These are really kind of, the defender can really shape local fighting like this. And this puts the onus on the attacker, in this case the Germans, in this scenario, to outmaneuver, use their mobility to isolate defenders. And in this case, they can't because of this bottleneck. Around Horsa Bridge, the 21st Panzer Division has been able to do so. The kind of their need to capture Horsa Bridge has made that very difficult. There's only Horsa Bridge is sort of one point on this very big map. And there's only one way to get there. Drive straight at the bridge. There's not a lot of scope here for wide outflanking manoeuvres to bypass Horsa and go some other way. Horsa is the only way across that the Orne River. And whilst this is a focused map, and whilst this is a local situation to demonstrate this point, I've kind of been reflecting on the other scenarios and the situation more broadly. In the last scenario, I think it was Intermediate Scenario, maybe 1 or 2, where the roadblocks, use of roadblocks really slowed down this offensive. And it really, these intermediate scenarios are really driving the point home that these offensive actions in the Grand Tactical Series really need to be highly mobile and perhaps not necessarily try to charge their way through these roadblocks or these entrenched defensive positions, but rather to look for another way round. Again, in this scenario, there is no other way round. These guys just do have to drive through, and it's been a valuable lesson in how difficult that is, and how really you don't want to do that as the attacker. It may seem like a simple lesson that is common throughout so many games. Don't attack an entrenched defender, go around them. This scenario, by basically saying, well, I'm sorry, but you have to capture Horsa Bridge, you've got to push away those entrenched defenders, demonstrates just the great difficulty in doing so, and again reinforces the value of that lesson. The Germans, the 21st Panzer Division and the 346 711 have been most successful when they've been mobile, when they've been able to sort of shift to the right, shift to the left, pick off a defender here and there. They've been least successful when they've had to get into close range and attack these entrenched defenders. Some of that may be attributed to the nature of their forces. They are relatively, there are few units in the 21st Panzer Division. They are numerically inferior, but they have a far superior firepower rating. And you contrast this with the snapshot I did of the Royal Marines Commandos, where they are numerically superior, but have very low firepower ratings, and they rely on their weight of numbers to overpower the defenders. So that's a very different situation to what I'm discussing here. The Royal Marine Commandos, in my view, can just swarm over a position, and they rely on their ability to slowly build up cohesion hits through basically rolling so many dice, where they stand a good chance of rolling numerous zeros, to build up those cohesion hits and gradually reduce defenders' positions. Generally, though, you don't have Germans with Royal Marines Commandos. Instead, they've got their Stugs, their Panzer IVs, their various half-track mortar units and so forth. And a lot of these units are very vulnerable. The Stugs have 0 armour rating. Most of the half-tracks have 0 or +1 armour rating. And they need to avoid those allied fields of fire. And they do that, again, by being mobile and picking off those defenders that can't shoot back, basically. I've been working through these scenarios for several weeks now, and the depth of tactical and strategic considerations just continues to grow, and I continue to kind of find out how this game works, how it should work, how you should play the two sides, and what you should do. This scenario has been a grind, but I'm learning a heck of a lot about what to do and what not to do on the offensive and defensive